I once snapped at someone I cared about, not because of what they said, but because I was tired, frustrated, worn down by a week that wouldn't end. My words weren't cruel, but they cut anyway. I saw it in their eyes. The silence that followed stayed with me far longer than the moment itself. We've all been there. A rushed reply, a passive-aggressive comment, a decision made in heat, not clarity. Then comes the regret. Why did I do that? What was I even reacting to? In those moments, control slips away. You act not because it's right, but because it releases tension, briefly. Then the guilt settles in. What I didn't realize was that the space between impulse and action, the pause I kept skipping, was where everything could change. That pause is a skill, one few of us are ever taught. It's the power to stop, to breathe, to ask what truly matters before reacting. That's where I found Stoicism, not in a book of quotes, but in the quiet moments after I'd already failed. Stoicism didn't judge me, it challenged me. Can you slow down your reactions? Can you meet the moment with clarity instead of chaos? It's not about suppressing emotions, it's about not letting them take over. It teaches you to wait long enough for your wiser self to speak, to hold your power in stillness, to breathe before burning bridges. So I'll ask you, when was the last time you truly paused before reacting? Not out of restraint, but out of strength. That's where the journey begins. Number 1, clarify what you really want. A friend of mine once quit her job to start a business. From the outside, it looked bold, brave, empowered. But within 6 months, she was overwhelmed, frustrated, and unsure why she even began. One night, over dinner, she admitted something quietly. I didn't leave because I had a vision. I left because I felt like a failure staying where I was. That moment stuck with me. Not because it was rare, but because it was so familiar. We often make big decisions not from clarity, but from discomfort. We chase goals because we're tired, envious, anxious. We don't pause long enough to ask if the goal is even ours. Stoic thinking asks us to strip away the noise, to stop before the sprint. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself not to waste time chasing things he hadn't thought through. He knew that speed without direction is just chaos in motion. If you don't clarify what you truly want, the world will hand you a script, and you'll follow it without knowing why. Take a common example. Someone starts a strict diet. They say it's for health, but underneath, maybe it's about feeling in control, or seeking praise, or avoiding a deeper insecurity. None of those are bad in themselves. But if you don't name them, they'll steer the ship without your permission. Clarity begins by questioning motive. Internal reasons tend to feel steady. External ones fluctuate. You'll know you're chasing someone else's goal when your energy rises and falls based on who's watching. So here's a simple tool. Take one decision you're facing. Write down 3 internal reasons for making it, then 3 external ones. Sit with that list. Which column feels more honest? Which one gives you strength that doesn't depend on applause? Before you act, clarify what you really want. Because if your ladder is leaning against the wrong wall, every step you take just gets you there faster. Number 2, gather relevant information. We live in a world where the answer to almost anything feels one click away. But what we rarely notice is the cost. Not money, attention, energy, and more dangerously, clarity. People don't just get overwhelmed from not knowing, they drown because they try to know everything. A friend once spent weeks researching a career pivot. He read every blog, watched countless YouTube success stories, took screenshots of quotes from founders, and yet when it came time to act, he froze. He didn't feel more certain. He felt more scattered. That's the hidden trap of information overload. It gives the illusion of movement, of progress, but without direction, It's noise dressed as insight. Stoic thinkers didn't collect knowledge to look smart. They sought what would help them act wisely. Marcus Aurelius said he'd gladly change his mind if shown a better way. Not because he was weak, but because he prized truth over pride. The difference is focus, not more input, just sharper filters. Let's say you're trying to improve sleep. You don't need 50 sleep hacks. You need to ask what's really interfering, then find a few trusted sources, a doctor, a data-backed article, a person who actually struggled and overcame it. That's how knowledge becomes a tool, not a burden. Try this. Create a 4-column note. Label them source, credibility, emotion, usefulness. Every time you read or hear something that influences a decision, jot it down. Who said it? Can you trust them? How did it make you feel? And most importantly, did it help you see more clearly or just made you feel urgent? Information is only power when it sharpens your next step, not when it clouds it. Gather less, but gather better. Number 3, ask probing questions. A friend once spent 2 weeks researching a supplement that promised to boost memory. The science looked convincing, the reviews were glowing. He ordered 3 bottles, but after a month, nothing changed. So he dug deeper. Turns out the study was done on sleep-deprived mice, not humans. And the company funding the research, the same one selling the pills. That's the cost of surface thinking. It feels efficient, but often it's expensive, financially, mentally, sometimes emotionally. Stoicism teaches us not just to observe, but to interrogate. Not with suspicion, but with clarity. Marcus Aurelius didn't ask what sounds good. He asked what is true. What can I verify? What is within my control? We rarely pause to question what we've already accepted, but questions are how the mind sharpens its edge. Instead of asking if a tip sounds useful, ask when might it fail? Who benefits from me believing this? What part of me wants it to be true? Let's take a trend, intermittent fasting. Thousands swear by it, but is it right for everyone? What about people with medical conditions, or irregular work schedules, or deep emotional patterns around food? No one headline fits all. A Stoic mind doesn't chase certainty. It chases clarity through hard questions. Try this. Take one belief you hold strongly. Maybe it's about health, or money, or what success means. Now ask it 3 difficult questions. Where did I learn this? Has it ever failed me? What might I be afraid to see? The goal isn't to destroy your belief. It's to test it like a bridge before you drive across. Because a belief that can't survive good questions might not be worth keeping. And one that does, now you own it fully. Number 4, weigh implications and consequences. It started with a late-night impulse. A man I knew signed up for a no-interest credit card. He felt relief, a fresh line of credit, more room to breathe. Then came the weekend getaway, then a new laptop. And a few months later, a bill that quietly ballooned beyond control. What began as a small win became a slow spiral. Most of us are taught to ask what happens next. Few are taught to ask what happens after that. That's the difference between reacting and reasoning. Emotion looks at the now. Wisdom looks at the ripple. The Stoics lived by this lens. Before acting, they asked what follows. Not just the first wave, the second, the third. That's not anxiety, that's discipline. Marcus Aurelius warned himself to question whether each act was necessary, not just easy or popular or fast. Imagine you're thinking about quitting a job. The emotional wave says, walk out, you'll feel free. But what happens in 10 days? Will you be scrambling to pay rent? What about 10 months? Will the next job offer growth or just escape? And 10 years? Will you have built something you respect or just repeated a cycle? Clarity comes from space, from lifting your eyes off the short-term chart and asking what direction you're truly moving in. Try this today. Take one decision on your mind. Apply the 10-10-10 rule. Ask how you'll feel about it in 10 minutes, 10 months, 10 years. Sit with each answer. That's how you begin thinking in layers. Not just for today, but for the future version of you who will have to live with the result. Number 5. Look at other perspectives. A few years ago, I argued fiercely with a close friend about a political issue. I had facts, statistics, logic. I thought I was being reasonable, but I wasn't listening. Not really. Later that night, I did something strange. I tried writing down her argument as if I believed it, not to mock her, but to see it through her eyes. What I found wasn't ignorance, it was pain. A different life path, a different set of stakes. That moment didn't change my core belief, but it softened my grip. It gave me a new question. What am I missing by standing only where I stand? Stoic clarity isn't about being right, it's about seeing more. Marcus reminded himself often, people act out of what seems right to them, not what is right. That gap is everything. One tool I still use is the devil's advocate. When I'm sure about something, I force myself to argue the opposite. 3 solid points, no sarcasm, no shortcuts, just real thought. Sometimes it holds, sometimes it breaks. Either way, I get closer to truth. You can try it too, or ask your future self. 10 years from now, would they still defend this belief? Or would they wish you had listened a little longer before judging? True strength isn't in having the loudest opinion, it's in having the quiet courage to reconsider. When was the last time you changed your mind? Not out of pressure, but because you saw something clearer, something deeper, something true. Number 6. Evaluate and prioritize options. A coaching client once told me his problem wasn't that he lacked ideas, it was that he had too many. Should I move abroad, start that course, take the promotion, switch industries? Every option felt promising and also paralyzing. We've all been there, standing in front of 6 open doors, each one calling your name, but none of them clearly better than the rest. So you wait and overthink, and nothing moves. The Stoics didn't have more time than us. They just wasted less of it. They used values as a compass, not feelings, not fear, not trends. When faced with a choice, they didn't ask what's easiest or most exciting. They asked, does this help me live with integrity? Will this path make me wiser, calmer, more useful to others? It's not about removing emotion, it's about aligning action with what matters most. Let's say you're choosing between job offers. One pays more, the other gives you time with family or space to create. When you apply a value lens, something shifts. It's no longer about perks. It's about your life philosophy and practice. One simple tool, make a short list of options, then rate each one from 1 to 5, not on preference, but on alignment with your top 3 values: honesty, growth, service, whatever speaks to you. Then add up the scores, see what rises, see what falls away. The mind wants clarity, but it needs structure to find it. So today, pick one decision you've been holding, list your options, rank them by value, not noise. You might be surprised by what stands out and what suddenly doesn't matter. Number 7, implement and reflect. A friend of mine once spent months planning a career switch. He built spreadsheets, made pro and con lists, even talked to people already in the field, but nothing changed until he actually tried working 1 day a week on a side project. That single step gave him more clarity than all the planning combined. Thinking has its limits. Wisdom grows when it's tested, when ideas move from the mind into real life and then come back changed. That's the Stoic loop. Decide, act, reflect, adjust. Epictetus taught that philosophy is a practice, not a theory. You don't know if a decision is good until you live it. You try, you stumble, you learn something you didn't see before, and you try again. That's not failure. That's mastery through motion. The key is to keep a short feedback loop. Don't wait 6 months to know if something works. Try it for 6 days. Keep a journal. 3 simple prompts. What did I try? What did I notice? What would I do differently? This isn't about being rigid. It's about being awake. Every action you take gives you data, not just about the world, but about yourself, your triggers, your patterns, your real values. You don't need the perfect plan. You need momentum, a small experiment, a willingness to observe without judgment. So this week, try one thing, just one, then track it, write about it, adjust it. Let that be your real education, not what you imagined, but what you actually experienced. That's how clarity becomes character, one honest iteration at a time. Conclusion: build a life that reflects depth, not impulse. Think back to that moment when you lost control, the words that came too fast, the silence that came after. Now imagine if just once you had paused, even 5 seconds, long enough to feel the breath, long enough to hear the question beneath the noise. What am I really choosing here? Clear thinking isn't just for big decisions. It's how you shape your life without even noticing. Every moment you respond from your deeper self instead of your quicker self, you're building something different, something grounded, something lasting. The Stoics believed you don't rise to the level of your feelings, you fall to the level of your habits, but you can raise those habits slowly, deliberately, one choice at a time. Seneca once wrote, "As is a tale, so is life. What matters is not how long it is, but how good it is." And you write that tale not with wishes, but with actions that reflect your clearest truth. So here's the final question. What would it look like if you made just one decision this week, not from urgency, not from fear, but from the quiet, steady place inside you that already knows? Start there, then keep going. That's how you build a life of depth, one clear moment at a time.